And it's Medical Monday with the Center for Occupational and Environmental Medicine. We welcome today Dr. Alan Lieberman with more on neurodegenerative diseases. How are you doing today, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Tell us first, what are neurodegenerative diseases? That's a big word.
Well, the most common neurodegenerative diseases that most people know about is Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, multiple sclerosis. So those are the diseases that we're talking about when we use the designation neurodegenerative.
So this is a breakdown of the nerves, is that what it is, so to speak?
Well, it's the whole central nervous system.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah. Now, you've been in business right up there, at least in North Charleston, Ashley Phosphate Road now, for about 50 years. What are most of the cases that you see coming into your office today that deal with this?
Well, as specialists in environmental medicine, we are very much concerned about the air we breathe and the foods we eat, the chemicals that pollute our air, food, and water. We also are very much concerned about radiation, which affects the human body. So as environmental specialists, we are seeing neurodegenerative diseases because the incidence of this problem is increasing very, very rapidly. And the question is why? Where is this coming from? And the answer seems to be that it's coming from our environment. So to give you an example of what we have learned, a professor from the University of Montana Medical School went to Mexico City and they did a study. And they looked at autopsies of children that had died living in the city of Mexico, which, by the way, is one of the most polluted cities in the world.
About 24, 25 million people live in this city, I understand?
Yes, it's
very
huge.
Populated.
Yes, and highly polluted, especially because of car exhausts and things like that. Well, they were shocked to find that in the study of the brains of these children that died of many causes was the presence of a pattern which was highly characteristic of Alzheimer's disease and some of these other neurodegenerative diseases.
Oh, wow.
And then what they noticed was that the further away the deceased child was from the city of Mexico City, the less the disease was present in the brain. So the conclusion was that this is an environmentally triggered disorder. But it's shocking, for example, because we always think about Alzheimer's disease as a disease of old people. And here it is showing up in the presence in very young people.
You think a lot of the toxins, the fumes, the carbon monoxide that's going on, the stuff within the plants within the city of Mexico City was attributing to that onslaught of very, very early Alzheimer's?
Oh, yes, unequivocally. The other thing we know, for example, is that patients or people who are exposed to carbon monoxide simulate a Parkinson-like disease pattern. So when we talk about Alzheimer's, we talk about Parkinson's, we talk about ALS, which is a tragic, terrible neurologic disorder that we still can't figure out what's causing it. But our big concern now is the increasing incidence of neurodegeneration, and the question is, if it is coming from the environment, what do we do? And the answer has got to be, we've got to reduce the pollution in our air, food, and water.
Sure. A lot of the stuff that goes on in your office, or the people that come in, they've got some sort of respiratory problems from a lot of stuff that's underneath the house, so mold and mildew, this sort of thing that's going on as well?
Well, right now, mold is the #1 problem that we see patients with, and they're coming from all over the United States, but especially here in the Lowcountry because our humidity is so high. But often, when we talk about toxic homes, we're talking about an indictment of poor building construction, unfortunately. So when it came to mold, for example, moisture is a prerequisite. Anytime you have moisture and water intrusion, you're setting yourself up for the growth of toxic mold. So that's one explanation there. But with these neurodegenerative diseases, we're especially concerned about heavy metal poisoning, for example, especially mercury, lead. Just the amount of pesticides. So let me just give you an example. The EPA did a study many years ago, and they looked at homes in Springfield, Massachusetts, and Jacksonville, Florida. And they were looking for the presence of pesticides, and they found 44 different pesticides in both Springfield and in Jacksonville. And the question was, nobody puts 44 pesticides in their homes. So how did it get there? What they found out is it was coming into the home on their shoes. So we walk it in. And it's fascinating, by the way. I see some people who visit our home, and the first thing they do is they take their shoes off at the door. And they should be doing that. We've been doing that over in Japan for years. We're out of time, sir. How can people get a hold of you? Well, we are at 7510 North Forest Drive, and that's in the city of North Charleston. We're right off I-26.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're
We appreciate it.
welcome.
We've got more coming up right after the break, so stay with us.